Hello, everyone. In this special episode, we'll uncover 5 common misconceptions on this topic to separate fact from fiction. Each topic will be assigned a number starting from 5, not in any particular order of preference, but simply for the sake of clarity. Let's start with a striking story from 18th century Russia. This story is about Tsarina Catherine II of Russia, who modernized and expanded her kingdom. Today's scandalous story alleges the Tsarina had an intimate relationship with her horse. Some even go so far as to claim that this is what killed her. But let me reassure you right away, this unbelievable story is actually false. It was the work of propaganda by her political enemies, who were greatly annoyed to see a woman holding the reins of Russian power with such authority and success. They accused her of being promiscuous to discredit and undermine her authority, which only partly worked. Let's delve into the history of France. February 16th, 1899. Félix Faure, President of the French Republic, has died. But the version of events spread by the press at the time and still present today claims that he died while he was in the charming company of his mistress, who was busy giving him oral pleasure. A version of events that gave the president's companion the nickname funeral pump. His chief of staff, alerted by the lady's companion's cries, reportedly discovered the surprising scene. Nevertheless, the perspective that made headlines in the press contrasts with the viewpoint offered by modern historians. Thus, historians Thierry Billard, Pierre Darmon, Dr. Germain Galleran, and others suggest the president died, not with his mistress, but later with his family. This point is meant to question the notion of Félix Faure's happy death, dying in his mistress's arms, during the intimate details too often presented on the internet as a historical fact. The prevailing historical view is that the man died hours later with his family present. As for the cause of his health problem, which would take his life, as well as the exact activities of the two lovers that day, these remain complete mysteries for now, as opinions differ greatly on the subject. There is even a theory that President Faure was poisoned, but that's another story. Now we take a big leap back in time, into that extraordinary period known as ancient Egypt, to address a topic that's sensitive and somewhat gross by today's standards. Yes, pharaohs sometimes married their sisters or daughters. I can already hear your hearts crying out in horror, so let me clarify. First of all, marriages with their daughters were most likely, if not almost certainly, purely symbolic and absolutely not consummated. When it comes to their sisters and half-sisters, that's a different story. Many ancient Egyptian pharaohs, even in later Greek dynasties, married and had children with their sisters to produce heirs, for 2 reasons. The first is a mythological reason. Osiris had Isis as his wife, who was, guess who, his sister. The more important reason is the pharaonic dynasty's wish to keep the royal bloodline pure. And yes, let's remember that the pharaoh is considered divine. If you mix divine with non-divine blood, you get half divine. Mixing divine with divine is better. Nevertheless, rest assured, not all pharaohs followed this tradition, especially at the beginning of a new dynasty, because, among other reasons, some will realize the long-term problems this causes for their dynasty's survival, which this tradition aimed to protect. Tutankhamun, better known for his tomb than his brief reign, was significantly impacted by his dynasty's inbreeding. The image, by providing a scientific representation, is enough to understand it. Inbreeding has often contributed, though not always directly, to the fall of dynasties. The 19th dynasty pharaohs, including Seti I and Ramses II, often avoided marrying their sisters. Ancient Greece, its democracy, philosophers, and orgies. The phrase, "go get yourself seen by the Greeks," comes from this supposedly lustful era, essentially telling you to find a Greek and ready to use his weapon of love on a part of your body that may not be intended for it, depending on your preferences. Yes, but what were orgies? I can already hear the guy in the back yelling, "Isn't it just about drinking and having sex?" Well, no, at least not for the Greeks. It was a religious festival celebrated by them, honoring the god Dionysus. Although it seems that aspects of fertility, including sexuality, were one of the invocations of these festivals. Their goal was to unite with the divine by returning to the natural human state, as the Greeks called it, with alcohol mixed with plants and hallucinogenic mushrooms. In short, and without going into detail, it was a ceremony mainly performed by initiated women, so it was a ritualized and not a public ceremony. During this ceremony, these women would enter a trance. The secretive nature of the cult and women's participation in the rite influenced the Roman version of the festival honoring Bacchus, their Dionysus, which, in terms of excess, got way more out of hand. The latter, aided by 17th century libertines, led to the reinterpretation we know today. Many have heard of the Kama Sutra, or used it to add an Indian flair to their intimate moments. Did you know the Kama Sutra is actually a Hindu religious book? Yes, we have much more fun with the Hindus than with our Middle Eastern religious books. The Sanskrit document covers more than just the act and ways to achieve physical communion with your partner or partners, but it addresses every aspect of love. The title Kama Sutra combines two Sanskrit words, kama meaning desire in all forms, not just sexual. Let's note that kama is a goal of life for all people, men and women alike. According to some Hindu traditions, the second word, sutra, means rule or line. The Kama Sutra is therefore a guide to follow in order to achieve one of the pillars of the Hindu tradition in question. And it talks about love in all its aspects, from emotion to marriage, and as you know, also covers the physical relationship between two lovers. We're much more than a simple catalog of intimate positions.